Hi, I'm James Bell, Head of Medical Negligence and Personal Injury at Kingsley Napley, and I'm joined today by Nicole Scott and Poppy Chamberlain, both from the Backup Spinal Charity, which is a charity very dear to our hearts that we're working with. We're sponsoring the family team who go into spinal units and offer peer support to injured parties. And we're here today talking about solicitors and what people with a spinal injury might want from their solicitor. If I just talk about Kingsley Napley, first of all, obviously we've got a team of around 12 solicitors plus support staff, and we handle primarily high value, serious complex injury cases of all types. We're very aware of how important our role is and our responsibilities in getting justice for our clients and getting the right package of care that they need for the rest of their lives. And we're very aware that this is a relationship that goes on for many years. Many of our cases begin and we're involved perhaps in the first few weeks after the accident, but then our involvement will continue perhaps for 3 or 5 years while we're fighting for liability decisions to get access to interim payments and then ultimately to conclude the case. So we're very aware of how focused we have to be and how much support we have to give to those clients. So we're taking on not that many cases, but we put a lot into each and every case that we take on. And Poppy, Nicole, I'd just be really interested for your perspective on this, as people who've obviously had that lived experience. And really, could you tell us what you're looking for from a solicitor with a patient with a serious spinal injury?
Absolutely, thank you very much. Yes, so within the family support team, we quite often speak to relatives who are either undergoing a claim or not sure how to go about it or which solicitors to choose. And I think it's really important for people to make sure that they choose a solicitor that has that relevant experience, like yourselves, that have worked with personal injury cases, medical negligence, and you have that experience of having done this for a number of years. The other thing that we quite often say to people is that actually you're going to have a relationship with your solicitor for a number of years, like you've just said. And it's really important to make sure that you have a good personal relationship with that solicitor. So when someone is trying to choose a firm, to have a few conversations with them and to make sure that actually you are getting on with each other on that sort of communication level as well.
Yeah.
From our own personal experiences within the team, some of us have had that experience, some haven't. We are there to listen to people and to sort of give them a safe space to talk and to air their concerns and their fears. And I think especially in the early days, it's I was given one very pertinent piece of advice from the lawyers that were involved in my husband's case, which was to make a note of every car journey to the hospital, keep all my receipts. So I remember that. This is 15 years later, and little nuggets of advice like that we can chip in and make sure that people know about. But it's a really important relationship, and you guys are obviously doing your best to get the best outcome for your clients, and we're there to support the family members as they're going through that process as well. Have you got anything to add?
Yeah, I think just about the way that people are getting injured is changing, and it's always growing as well in different ways. People become injured, and you've got sort of your traumatic, let's say, and your non-traumatic types of injuries, that you might have medical negligence and that sort of things, or you could have like a real impact injury on a motorcycle. And actually, quite often we find that family members and the injured people, they're not actually quite sure if they've got a case or not. So to actually say, well, actually get in touch and find out, and they'll be able to advise you one way or another. But don't not act, because I know that there is a time frame, isn't there, on how people can sort of progress with a case. So just to encourage them to do that.
I think that's a really good point, Poppy, because we see quite serious injuries, and on average, I would say it's usually around 12 months, even up to 2 years, for people to approach us on a medical negligence case, because they had the initial injury, and then they've had time to think about things, maybe talk to other people. And although there's meant to be a duty of candour in the NHS, there's meant to be explanation and admissions of negligence. We don't always find that, sadly. So it's often the case that we're starting from scratch at day one, trying to investigate matters, And you're right, there is a 3-year time limit to bring a claim. Most people with spinal injury will have capacity, so they won't have a brain injury, so the 3-year time limit will apply. It doesn't apply in children's cases, of course. The children have 3 years from their 18th birthday.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, but often, say in a road traffic accident, obviously people were immediately aware of the injury and who's at fault pretty much as well, or accidents at work. So medical negligence, it's more of a creepy knowledge that comes to people over time. So they generally come to us maybe a bit later, and that it's up to us really to progress those cases as quickly as we can. But yeah, it's really, really interesting to get your perspective. I mean, from our perspective, it's Kingsley Napley. We want to be passionate about our clients' cases. We want to be responsive. We want to be always progressing the case and not having sort of dead periods where things aren't moving on. So for the moment we're instructed, we do try to keep things moving as much as we can. And some of the cases are very complex, and it means we're assembling teams of probably up to 15 experts in some cases to actually put together the holistic package of care that people need, and to present something to the defendant insurance company, the defendant solicitors, as the court, to say, look, this is how this person's life's been affected psychologically, in terms of housing, employment, and then we have to present all that with multiple experts and say, and this is what they need to put them back into the position they should be in, to give them maximum support. So a lot of what we're doing is sort of big project management efforts, as it were, to get those big compensation payments to support people for the rest of their lives.
And I think that's what sometimes people don't necessarily realise that, and before they've spoken to a solicitor, is that it can be a long process. And like you say, you're mentioning all those experts that you have to get reports from, and so that in itself can take years. And so I think for someone, when they are first instructing a solicitor, to have that knowledge from yourselves and to have that clarity that actually we are doing our best for you, but it's going to take a while. I think it's really important, and you obviously do that really well. So.
And it depends on the injury. I mean, sometimes people come to us and they've got a defined injury, and there's not going to be, sadly, a recovery. So we've got a defined picture already. Other times people come to us and there is going to be some rehabilitation, and we have to wait for that rehab to go through its course because we can't settle the claim too early. And also, there's no point experts seeing that person 1 week post-injury if there's going to be a good, a reasonable chance of rehabilitation. So often, a lot of what we're doing is waiting for people to reach their maximum potential, and then we can instruct the final expert to value the claim. So it's not that we're deliberately, either us or the defendants, elongating the process.
No.
We just want to make sure that we're settling the claim when at the right point. That's all.
You want to get the best outcome for your client, don't you?
And that recovery can take 2 or 3 years. And we have to say, well, is that it? Is there going to be any more surgery, or is that it? And at that point, we're safe to settle the claim, knowing what we do about the questions. But anyway, thanks so much, Poppy and Nicole, for coming in today to talk about your experiences as solicitors and what you want from the solicitor actually for a person with a spinal injury. So it'd be really great to have your insight. Thank you.
Thank you.